Well, good day, everybody. We're in the headwaters of the Briley Brook in MacInnis County, and I would describe this as a mountainous stream where we currently are. And this section of the watershed was once almost completely deforested. There was a road going along the brook, and here's part of the road here. You can see the old channel still got some groundwater, and then this levee type structure was built. They had a road going straight up the mountain, and what they typically did back then was, in order to fix the stream in one place, because of the land was cleared, so the stream was very unstable, generally speaking. When the technology came along with the bulldozer, they started bulldozing these streams up against the steepest bank they could find in the floodplain, and it would kind of fixate the river against that bank. So we can see here the floodplain. It's about 100 meters wide. You probably can't see it through on this video. And they have the river all the way on one side of it. And you can see the channel is cut right down to bedrock in some places, though it is starting to fill in. And so we're putting log structures in, digger logs and rock sills, to encourage the aggradation of substrate, which is the buildup of substrate. Which brings me to another point. In order for these streams, which have been degraded down to bedrock, in order for them to recover, we're going to need erosion in order to recruit new substrate. And that's how streams develop. And you can see here, we're getting some finer material building up among the boulders. And this is aided by the large woody debris that's falling in. The high water is hitting that. It creates what's known as channel roughness. And then we have the deposition of fines. But over here is the historic channel. Very narrow in comparison to what currently exists. And it's very interesting to note that the old channel is still holding groundwater, even though it's sitting in a higher elevation than the current channel, which means that our groundwater table is being diminished by this current section of stream. And as we promote aggradation of substrate and lift the stream bed up into the floodplain, that water table is going to hold more and more water, which will improve the spring interchange with the surface water. It'll cool the water, creates much more favorable summer water conditions for salmonids such as brook trout and salmon. So that's what this is all about. It's restoring the water table by restoring the position of the stream in the floodplain in the direction of where it historically was when this area was completely forested. You can see these old trees, some big spruce and some hemlock, were once against a riverbank. And you go back 80-90 years to when those trees were actually against the river. We had much greater returns of salmon in this watershed, possibly in the 5 to 1 range versus current levels. So if we were able to restore this channel back to where it was, and I'm pretty sure we can over time if we can let nature do its thing, which means allow the recruitment of large woody debris to fall into the channel, and also to allow this forest to go through its natural succession, we're going to be that much closer over time to returning to historic norms. And something that's always interesting in these wet areas where we have saturation, where the ground is saturated, such as this area along this old channel bed, is this is where your trees begin to fall first during windstorms, because the ground, well, completely dry ground is almost like concrete, and this is like wet concrete, so it doesn't have the same holding capacity as dry ground. But this type of change in the forest is actually what we need, because in this clearing along this wet area, we've had a couple large spruce, and these have fetched up along other trees, and so in time it's going to create habitat for birds, woodpeckers, as this tree begins to die and rot, get infested with bugs. But it also allows the regeneration of shrubs, such as this one here. Not quite sure what species this is, but you can see over there we got alders growing back up. And this is all necessary stuff in the long-term development of this ecosystem. Because what's missing in this mountainous section of stream is, historically we had sections where the gradient or the slope wasn't as steep as some of the other reaches, and these areas would have been inundated with mountainous marshes, beaver dams, and those sorts of things, and all of those contribute to your groundwater storage, and it's really a mitigation against drought in the summer. So the big issue with drought is we lack the habitat or the resilient ecosystems that we used to have that could withstand these 1 in 10 year drought periods like we had in 2020. So there it is, just a little review of some work we're doing in Briley Brook. There's a rock sill that we built, and we're going to have about 90 structures completed in this 5.5-6 kilometer section of stream over time. And I thought some people might be interested to see what we're doing. And we'll end the video by an upstream look at a newly installed digger log.